Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever, where today we're going to be getting into a 4v4 played on Boreal Mounds. Let's go ahead and get into introducing our players with Team 1 in the top left, Team 2 in the bottom right. But before we do, please consider subscribing, liking, and disliking if you dislike it. And of course, I really hope you enjoy this. If you want to support me in a more than just a subscribe, a view, and a like, then you can always consider joining the channel membership. There's a button below where you can click join, and you can support me that way. And you get access to some cool emotes and can submit a replay for the replay review monthly. So yeah, thank you all, and let's get into introducing our players. Starting in the far south for Team 1, we have an orange Seraphim going first air by the name of Medea. And then up to the north, we have a red UEF going first air by the name of Ash M. Could see some crazy plays with these double air openers. To the northeast, we have ourselves a yellow Seraphim going first land by the name of Never Gonna Run Around. And then we have, last but not least, for Team 1, a channel supporter. He's been in my streams a couple of times. His name is GBK0220. Then we're going to move on to the south with a green player who plays one of the best franchises ever made, Halo. He's a green Seraphim going first land by the name of Master Chief JMJ. Then over to the east, we have a white UEF going by the name of JoJo, starting with a first air factory. Then to the northeast of him, we have a gray Cybran best faction going first land with the name of Commander H15. And last but not least, we have another Cybran choosing well by the name of Maelstrom going first land. And that is going to be all of our players introduced. Burial Mounds, a map with about 17 to 18,000 reclaim and a bunch of stuff going on. We also have some new UI things going on, as such as the mini-map being super duper fancy and going away when I zoom all the way out. And of course we have this so we can see the info of what we've selected. So right now we can see GBK has a total of 1,141 mass constructed, and that's just going up every second. So that is, of course, very useful. We can see how much mass worth of units players have at any given time. It's a Navy map with a bit of some water crossing areas. You can't get any water units over here, but you can very easily come over here, build up a large land force, win this, and then maybe do a amphibious assault across here with T2. And do some crazy plays. This is a very interesting map. Don't see it played very often. I really love the paint work done here. I'm pretty sure that's painting and that's not relief changes. Yeah, in fact it is. You can see on the mini-map, and if we want to do something trippy, which I don't normally do, we can go to the cartographic map, and you can see that nothing has changed. Also, if you want to have a really trippy game, do cartographic and then hit Alt-V. Does Alt-V work in cartographic? No, it doesn't, does it? Wait, does it? No, it doesn't. Alright, we'll turn cartographic off just so you all don't look weird, don't feel weird. Alt-V shows you the hitboxes of each unit. Seraphim comm looking rather normal. The UEF comm looks a little bit scary. But we'll stop looking at the weird stuff. I'm just sharing random knowledge. Not much going on. We do have those early airs out, but nobody's really going for a bomber just yet. Nobody's trying to be aggressive with it. So for now, we're just waiting for these players to probably step their toes into the water. Or maybe we'll see something like this where Ash M is going to do a huge transport. He has the automatic name set up for all of his units, which is going to be a little bit annoying because, as you can see, there's going to be a lot of names just on the screen. May have to turn off custom names, which would be a huge disappointment, and we'll have to cast shame upon Ash M for this travesty. But until it gets overwhelming, we will not deal with it. And, of course, he's going to be going for this central island first, a very important play to make. But there is a T2 civilian artillery. If this is an enemy artillery, this could be crazy. I didn't even notice that. There's one on each side. Could cause serious damage to the opposing players. But I don't know. This may just be a not-so-angry force. None of the anti-air has fired and killed something, so I'm guessing these are of course, not allied, and these units are firing at each other. There's also triads. This is one hell of a fortified base. So going to have to be very careful is Ashem. I don't know if he knows that reclaiming these structures is usually going to be faster than trying to shoot them down. Also, he stopped shooting for some strange reason. He's just going to go ahead and just take the hits. He's going to try and go for the reclaim, but it's really just not working out for him so far. I'm glad that the artillery does not seem to have the range. I'm sure if I go to Alt F2, can I look at Civilian Army 9 and see what their vision range is? Yeah, they don't really have any kind of intel. They just have the vision. So, of course, that will be useful. We're going to probably... I don't know how to get back to Observer other than this. I hope it works. It does indeed work, so there we go. At least these artillery shouldn't ever fire on anything. I'm surprised the Southern artillery didn't kick into action and start firing on that comm, but just decided not to. And, of course, just some interesting plays going on all around. Over to the south, we have our first players stepping their toes into the water. There is, of course, Medea, Master Chief, and Joe. I think I called him Jojo. His name's just Joe. Getting their feet into the water, as well as up to the north, Maelstrom and GBK getting into the water. GBK going for 2 submarines and then frigates. That's probably a pretty safe build order. Stops you from dying from the odd submarine start. I'm also interested to see if anybody's going to do the cheese tactic of just walking their comm to the enemy factory and reclaiming it. It really does work, and on maps like this, it might be worth it. I know it can work on things like Selkie, where you have a relatively close comms to each other on certain flanks. Over here, frigates fighting each other, going pretty well for the orange player. I think that the Master Chief is going to lose his frigate to Medea, but I might be wrong on that. A second frigate pops out. There's some Zooies in the water. Master Chief trying to be very aggressive over here. He's going to need to make sure he's not overextending himself. He has a lot of mass right now. I'm sure he's in a stall. Yeah, he's in a horrible stall. Needs to try and pull out of this. This is not a situation you want to be in. You need to pause some stuff. He's trying to be very aggressive, but it's just not going to work if he just runs out of units to throw at the opponent faster because he doesn't have the eco. While Master Chief, of course, and much more reasonable of a mass stall, is going to be able to actually afford the production he's built. Overall, these players are not really getting into each other very quickly. The central fire base really going to produce issues, but the reclaim on... Oh, he's capturing! He's going to capture this. Oh, can he afford the power to capture this? No, he really can't. It takes a lot of power to capture a T2 artillery, but he is going to try it, so eventually this T2 artillery is going to be gifted over to GBK. He's going to have to spend a lot of energy for it, but will eventually go down. I'm surprised that they don't have any vision range on this. That's going to be very unfortunate for the central civilian AI. Just going to mean all these artillery pieces are going to be able to kill off all of this. I think they may even be able to fire on the T2 PD without getting damaged themselves. And other than that, we have some naval aggression now going on in the north for Maelstrom. He's heading towards GBK, and he's going to be sending a few frigates and a submarine, but there's 3 submarines here, which means that this eventually goes well for GBK. GBK, if you want a little bit of advice, never build a torp launcher. They are just a complete and utter waste of mass. This will die to 3 frigates, and it's not like a PD, where a PD will kill off a healthy amount of enemy units before going down. So yeah, that's just a bit of a waste of mass, but the submarines ward off the units of Maelstrom. And down here in the south, we have a bit of a naval engagement kicking off. It does seem as though Medea has managed to get up enough naval units to maybe fight this. Might want to micro a little bit. He's setting up his units in a relatively vulnerable way. They're not going to be able to get this. He is focusing on reclaim, which is a good idea to have in the back of your mind. While we're waiting for a little bit more action to kick off, nothing's really going to come from this or the aggression in the north or the central area. We can go ahead and look at the ratings of these players. We have everything from 300 to 1300, but about half the players above 1,000 or at 1,000 and half the players below it. Of course, with an 800 on Team 2 and a 900 and 300 on Team 1. That means that this is going to be a little bit wonky. Team 1 definitely down a lot of rating points, but they do have a 1300, which is the highest rating in the game. The average rating between these teams is 1050 for Team 2, 875 for Team 1, and an average in a balance quality of 60%. So Team 1 at a huge disadvantage rating-wise. Going to have to see if they can manage to turn that into something, or maybe just negate their rating disadvantage. In the air position, of course, is never going to run around the 1300, and he has a bunch of Nathas now out onto the field. He could be going for a very juicy snipe. We're going to go ahead and do a track on these Nathas and just try and see where they're going to head off to, and if it's going to amount to anything significant. Seemingly heading towards the base of Commander H-15, but maybe doing a little veer here at the last second to just try and avoid the interceptors and head up towards Maelstrom. It does indeed seem like they're heading towards Maelstrom now. Some of these fighters having a little bit of trouble. Some bombs are eventually going to be dropped. Seems as though some T1 mass extractors and maybe T2 mass extractors are going to be going down, and that's going to be unfortunate for Maelstrom. He's going to be set behind a lot in the Navy, and he's not even that far ahead despite having a much higher rank than GBK in the mass department. I think GBK is even stalling currently. Yeah, he is stalling. If he wasn't power stalling, he'd be sitting a little bit prettier. Needs to deal with his power deficit, and he is T2 P-Gen. You want to get that shield finished after the T2 P-Gen. The Nathas do manage to pick up a few more mass extractors. Doesn't seem like they're going to continue to head south, just trying to stay out of the range of the interceptors and continue to drop bombs on various things. Over here to the west, we have ourselves Ash M in a fight with the T1 units out from Commander H-15, and unfortunately that captured T2 artillery. I don't know if it ever fully captured. If it did, it didn't really get any value. It never really fired on anything, so that's going to be unfortunate for him. He spent a lot of energy trying to do that, and that was just a wasted investment, in my opinion. Over here to the north, we have naval units building up for both sides. Maelstrom has a lot more factories, which means GBK is going to be in a little bit of trouble. GBK really needs to come up with a solution fast. Torpedo bombers. Going into torpedo bombers so early kind of feels bad for me. I think you should try and win the Navy before you try and get the torpedo bombers. I mean, you could win Navy with torpedo bombers, but I generally think that it's better to invest in Navy than just preemptively go T2 air to because if you believe you're going to lose Navy, it's I think it's better to give it a shot. Now, as Maelstrom moves out, he's going to be running into a lot of submarines still, but I think he has more. He has 5 submarines to 4, which means that these 4 submarines are going to be able to be killed off by all of this. Maybe the torpedo launcher can help out GBK a little bit, but that's probably not the situation that we're in. Torpedo bombers coming out from multiple players on Team 1. A lot of players on Team 1 focusing quite heavily on air. Many players at T2 air and multiple now at T3 air, I believe. At least 1, if not 2. A second player about to get T3 air. Is the same true for the other side? No, Commander H not quite going for T3 air. T3 air finished up for Joe, and nobody else from what I can see has it. The Nathas come in for another pass, and Maelstrom continues to lose mass extractors. He probably should just go aggressive. I think he might be going for a torpedo upgrade. He does finish a torpedo upgrade. He should just go. This is the point where you go. You stop sitting around. You go. Go forward. Oh, slap my mic. Why don't I? And over here, Ash M now falling back. He's still fighting with his comm for this central island, and he has a lot of build power now over here trying to get up some factories. If he can get up 3 factories, he can outproduce the enemy units, and as long as his comm is still here, he can deal with it. Building that T1 PD seems like a little bit of a waste. It's only 2 factories worth of units streaming in. Your comm can almost infinitely deal with that. So he should probably just fall back and not worry about this. He is getting some reclaim, which is going to be nice for him. Down here in the south, torpedo bombers going to be harassing the units of both Master Chief and of Joe. And that's going to be very useful for Medea, who's seemingly very alone here in the southern pond, while both Joe and Master Chief working together in the Navy down there. Natha's out around the map, still trying to do economic damage. Not sure they managed to get a ton of it done earlier, but still. GBK now under assault by the units of Maelstrom, and I think he's just going to end up being dead here. He's really focusing on getting some attacking T2 air units up, but I don't know if that's going to be the right call here. He's He's going to be in a lot of trouble once once Maelstrom here gets to T2 Naval. He's going to be able to build those Cybern destroyers, and I don't think this cliff is quite tall enough to protect him from the shelling that may be happening. He's going to go for a T2 artillery. I don't think you can afford that. It's going to be rather expensive. He can seemingly afford it, but he's not going to be able to build it very quickly. The build time is going to be the just default T2 engineer build time. Ash M now in the process of retreating off the central island and heading to the northwest, which is going to be a bit unfortunate. The artillery now in play has managed to fire at least once and get 3 kills. The central artillery, they're going to be very mean to the players for either team, but I think it's probably going to be dead here in a matter of time. There's still some T2 PD and other things kicking around in that central civilian base, but some of these mexes are now being scooped up by Commander H-15. There's a bit of an air fight and some torpedo bombers going on over here, as it seems as though Ash will be forced out of the Navy. On the southern side, it seems the Navy is going slightly better for our orange Seraphim. He seems to be able to get some ground. He needs to be able to get into this reclaim field. The reclaim field now being sucked up by Master Chief. If this continues to go on, he's going to be a little bit behind, because that eco is going to be huge for Master Chief. Assuming he throws it into just a couple more mechs upgrades, he'll be able to get a lot more Navy out onto the field. He has a lot of assistance on his naval factories, whereas Medea just has a lot of naval factories, but not that many more. He's also still producing Zooies and other useful little things to try and help him in the water. And overall, fight still going on. Seems as though there's a Corsair Snipe now out from Commander H. Going to be going for the comm of Ash. We're going to watch Ash do the Twin Rivers Tango and see if that works out for him. On the mini-map, you can see some T3 air power coming out. There is a T3 bomber out now for Never Gonna Run Around, so he might be getting some huge damage done very soon. Is this Corsair Snipe going to result in anything? I don't think so. I think enough T1AA is finally coming up, and there's some ASF showing up for Never Gonna Run Around. So now we go ahead and track this T3 bomber and see exactly how it performs. It's going to be heading for the base of Commander H-15 first, the second highest rated player in the game, right behind Never Gonna Run Around, trying to shut down his opponent as early as possible. Going to be able to take down a radar installation as well as some mexes. Is getting chased down by a prowler, but that's not going to be very much damage. It's an interceptor. There is no, of course, there's no way for this bomber to shoot it back down. The Seraphim bomber not having anti-air, but still doing quite well. It's always fun to see air units with transportable, mainly just because they can fly. I think the only reason for that is they can fly into the Tsar, and I think they can also fly into an Atlantis and be stored in an Atlantis. I'm not sure if they can, but I think that's true. Over here, Sonata gonna continue its bombing run up to 25 kills and 4,000, now over 4,200 mass killed, which means it's gonna get a rank of veterancy, be able to heal up some of that interceptor damage. But a Wasp gets on a tail, followed by many more, and that's gonna mean that the last bomb almost kills a T1 naval factory. Oh, I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Overall, a relatively effective bomber does manage to take out some mass extractors for Team 2. And Team 1 now being forced out of the water in the south. It seems as though Medea has folded, as well as Ash. So now there's just not going to be as much Navy in the water for these players on the southern side. And on the northern side, they were also pushed out. Just overall naval fold for Team 1. Team 1 falling apart in the Navy. Overall economies, though, Never Gonna Run Around has a very strong economy, and he's going to be able to outproduce air for now against Joe, but Joe is only slightly behind. He didn't really get invested into the Navy game, so I guess it's not going to hit him as hard. The air production, that is. He's going to be able to produce more without having to throw any mass into boats or submarines. A lot of ASF on the field, some gunships, the occasional T3 bomber out. I'm going to be able to make quick work of a bunch of stuff. I think all of the ASF went down. Nope, there's still a few ASF over here. Let's do a quick ASF count on these players. 12 ASF versus 9, so this should be a relatively easy win if they can get an even air fight, that is, for Never Gonna Run Around. GBK, using torp bombers, going to try and shoot down all of this. Frigates will eventually shoot down torpedo bombers, but it's a very slow and arduous process, so going to have to be very careful is Maelstrom. He's going to be under a lot of damage from these torpedo bombers, and they'll be able to ward off some units for a while, but the second cruisers start becoming a set piece in these battlefields. That's going to be a problem. Medea possibly under threat of dying as there's a ton of frigates right on top of them. Can these frigates no longer go any further up north in this water? Is this water just too shallow for frigates? Doesn't seem like it would be, but apparently it is, as Medea runs away, or the players on Team 2 were sleeping and decided they didn't want to kill off one of the higher rated players for Team 1. Overall, when we look at the team scores, Team 2 and Team 1 neck and neck in mass, so that's not really a metric to try and judge these teams off of. GBK, surprisingly, lowest rated player, has the 3rd highest eco in the game, or 4th highest eco in the game. He's doing very well on eco, but he doesn't really have any naval units. And down here to the south, I completely missed it, but there was a snipe out from Ash, and it killed off Master Chief. So Master Chief does go down. Is it full share? It is not full share, so that was a strap bomber snipe, if I did see that correctly. And Ash bags the first kill of the game. Can't believe I didn't see that. I was looking at the minimap. I just didn't look at that specific point on the minimap. And it wasn't really like there was a ton of strat bombers there, I don't believe. But he's continuing to build strat bombers. This could be very dangerous for Team 2. And now that this flank has been destroyed, Joe and Commander H, one of the two, needs to get units down here ASAP and start building them. A lot of the naval units over here just end up dying right where they stand. And that's going to leave a juicy mass field of about 9,000 here for Team 1 if they can manage to get back into the water. Speaking of the water, how much do these players have invested into the water? Let's go ahead and see. I said water way too many times. Overall, we have 12 frigates only for Commander H. That's all of his navy, and that's about 3,000 mass, or exactly 3,000 mass. Jojo sitting on 2,000 mass, and Maelstrom sitting on 1,000 mass. So these players really didn't spend much in the navy. They just spent slightly more than their opponents. It seemed Master Chief and Medea had the most, and Medea sent most of it to die over here in the middle. Not very many engineers reclaiming. Reclaim's going to be a huge portion of this now as we zoom in a little bit. 39,000 mass down here in the bottom corner. That's more than what was on the map whenever we started. Hell, this mass field alone is worth more, so these players really need to focus on the reclaim. And overall, it seems as though Team 1 is focusing on winning through air power, whereas Team 2 is trying to play a more balanced game, go for the naval and naval battles while keeping their air presence at least somewhat in check. Both of the two players now on Team 2 now having T3 air. A third possibly on the way as this T2 power gen completes. I could see a T3 air upgrade going on for Maelstrom. And this area is being re-expanded to now by Joe, who's going to be taking over this particular section of the map, I would assume. You have strat bombers laying around for various players. 4 strat bombers. That's still a force to be reckoned with, and I think they have air control. This game could be over very quickly if these players can just find the enemy comms. Commander H sitting pretty far back, and Joe sitting in his main base as of the moment. Might see some SAMs go up. Yep, indeed, we do have a few SAMs thrown up by Joe. I don't know if it's Joe or Jew, but I didn't want to keep saying Jew, so I'm going to go with Joe. And overall, these players doing a ton of engineers over here. Sent on an attack move. This, I think, was this was a mistake. The attack move down here and then assist a frigate. I hope he notices that at some point, but he wants to attack move and then attack move. That will get him a lot of reclaim. Once these get down here, it'll take a little while. They will get a lot done. A ton of torp bombers coming in for GBK. Is that going for the T2 HQ or is that going for the comm? Seems as though the T2 HQ under threat by the Stork torpedo bombers from our UEF red player. Seems the repair command immediately given, but is it going to be enough? That's still a lot of torp bombers. Are there ASF to respond? Does not seem as though there are. These torp bombers definitely deal more damage than the engineers can repair. And while the ASF do come in from Commander H-15, I think enough torpedo bombers have dropped their deadly payloads to deal with this factory. Oh, am I right or am I wrong? I'm right. The factory goes down. Those Cybran arms working to the bitter end, trying to produce those naval units to save the factory, but alas, in the end, not enough. As the Cybran faction, the Cybran lose such a valuable asset. Brackman will disapprove heavily of the actions of the UEF GBK, insisting that they stop helping the Seraphim immediately. Or stop helping the Seraphim immediately and help the Cybran defeat them. As the southern team continues to get some ground dominance. Over here, some transports drop some units, and Ash now under land threat, but luckily these gunships that have been kind of kicking around for a while from Never Gonna Run Around are going to be able to stop this land incursion before it even gets very much done. I guess it was worth the effort because he did have all these units kind of just laying around, and he has another T2 transport for whenever he wants to throw a few more down on the other side of the map. Some T2 artillery emplacements, or maybe that was T1 artillery, but it felt like a T2 shell I just saw flying out of the base of Medea. Medea's sitting here. He's going for a kind of Rambo comp thing, and Maelstrom was killed by Ash M by strat bombers again. I'm blind and missing it. Jeez Louise. These strat bomber snipes coming in at just ridiculous. Why? I usually you're like 25 minutes into the game, you're like, strat bomber snipes aren't going to be prevalent. Also, I guess the mini map isn't always on. Like, right there it turns on, so I wasn't really able to look at the mini map. I guess whenever I was more zoomed in, but yeah, no, there's just no excuse. I'm just a bad caster, everybody. Go down in the comments and yell at me for it. I'm trying to provide interesting commentary, and instead I'm providing shit camera work. But it's okay. I'm putting out a lot of these casts, and sometimes it just gets a little bit hard to focus. I do have that, of course, ADHD. Of course, excuses don't matter. I should just do better, but just a little bit strange right now. Nevertheless, I'm very much so having a good time, and I hope you are too. If you're enjoying the cast, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm going to try and keep a better eye on the strat bombers. Going to stay zoomed out for a little bit. In fact, there is one thing I would like to do. I would like to do this. Ah, damn. If he doesn't go for another strat snipe, I'm going to be very upset. Because actually, he probably has enough to go for a strat snipe on Gray now. They just need to find the comm. Okay. They're heading out again. I don't know what their target is, but I need this for the thumbnail. Damn it, why did you choose the worst one to follow? Okay, whatever. Stop teasing me, Ash. Oh, here we go. They're gonna fly out. Just gonna have the thumbnail be, why is the lighting so weird? Thumbnail be like this and just have the word diplomacy. Alright. I'm done messing around with getting a thumbnail. Down here in the south, there's a mass scout wave going on. It seems as though Commander H-15 will be able to go to the north and take this over. GBK getting his toes back into the water. The first player on Team 1 to even attempt it. He's up to T2. He's doing a relatively admirable job setting up himself for success, trying to get up more factories to build more things. The strat bombers now coming in. I don't know if they're going for a snipe or not. There's an SMD back here. That SMD covers the square root of jack shit. But there's a lot of ASF on the field. I don't know if they have enough ASF coverage for another strat snipe. So it seems as though Team 1's going to have to go to their playbook and rip out the page that says strat snipe and come up with a new one. Either that or they're going to double down on strat snipe until it works. Which, you know what? If there was a strategy to double down on, strat snipe is one of them. If there ever was a strategy to double down on, this would not be the worst choice. It is very much so a mass dump when you mess it up, but when you don't mess it up, you get those sweet, sweet explosions of commanders. And now I believe that JoJo and friends now see the air units flying in, these strat bombers coming in, and of course going to mean that they need to respond. I don't know if they know its strats yet. The ASF are flying up. They need to be a little bit more careful. The ASF's getting shot down. Happy Morax, Raging Morax, Angry Hadouken, all of them just falling to the ground as Happy Black Crow witnesses it and wishes he wasn't here right now. Over here to the north, there's some torpedo bombers assisting the destroyers of GPK. He's trying to keep himself in the Navy by just throwing enough air mass at it. How many? He has over 4,000 mass in torpedo bombers, and that seemingly is just going to keep growing. And overall, these players continuing to duke it out. In the south, it seems that Joe has managed to get a huge economy running. He's still just barely ahead of Never Gonna Run Around, and he has 2 bases now, and he's fully done this. Overall, let's go ahead and check on that reclaim number. Commander H15, you can see that he sent out all these units for reclaim. He needs to send these engineers back up. You just send them to reclaim up here. But overall, Joe doing the best on reclaim after reclaiming his allies' base, but many players getting to around the 2,000 mark. Never Gonna Run Around and GBK lagging behind, neither of them even getting to 10k this game. I guess it's a little bit more extendable for Never Gonna Run Around because there's a lot of reclaim up here. GBK, you play a lot with me and you ask questions about improving. Reclaim this. It's been here for long enough. You're not under threat. Go take it. It's yours. I promise. A very inefficient setup over here. Double capping T2 mexes. Not worth it. You want to do that once you have these at T3 instead. I mean, it's not a huge issue. I mean, it's still more mass, but it'd be better to just have more T3 mexes than having spent all of that mass on mass fabricators instead. In the central island, there's a battle now going on between Medea, who's just given up on the idea of boats, and Commander H15. These players throwing a lot of units at each other over here. Mostly hover, if not all hover from Medea, Yenzines and Zuis. And there's some torpedo bomberage still going on up over here. There's strat bombers sitting in the back still. We still have a lot of them kicking around. I don't know if the second straight of strat bombers that was flying around is still kicking. I don't know if it was just 3 or if he had more. It felt like he had more. And overall air production probably switching back to ASF. 1 ASF to 1 scout. That better be the only factory doing that. Okay, most of these factories not going quite so heavily on it. Some of them have strat bombers mixed in from the looks of it, or one of them did at one point. Am I just crazy? I'm just crazy. None of these have a strat bomber in them. Are you still producing strat bombers anywhere? Oh, you are producing strat bombers out of this factory. Interesting. We now have a bunch of T1 bombers coming in to try and deal with this stuff in the middle, but Hoverflak's going to make quick work of it. So those T1 bombers not going to do very much other than take out a small chunk of the army. And Medea going to be playing very aggressively, heading up north towards the base of Commander H15. He's, or I guess more so east. But he's fighting Commander H15 and probably going to try and get onto the mainland if I had to guess. There is no way this is efficient. He has over 100,000 energy storage. Is he still building energy storage? He's not. But 23 energy storage, that's 5,000 mass in energy storage. I don't see why you need that. I mean, I guess it's nice, but it seems like a very heavy investment into energy storage personally. I almost never have that much unless I'm going for something spicy and specific. But he does have a lot of power building up back here, along with an SMD and some other safety precautions. Seems Team 1 is very interested in what he's doing, and I have to admit, I am too. We could possibly see with this much power going on, it's not unrealistic to see teleporter started up. If he stops air production for a little bit, he has 15,000 power a second to throw at a teleporter upgrade, and I think that would be a cue to get telemaser defense. Do we have a teleporter on the way for this support commander? What? Excuse me, what? What upgrades does it have? It has no upgrades. So if this is a teleporter, which it looks, it's a gun upgrade, so it's not teleporter. Gonna have to keep an eye on those. That's another way that Team 1 could snipe. Team 1, a team of snipers. Elite team at that. Up in the north, GBK still putting on an admirable fight with the naval units of Joe and Commander H-15. Still fighting it off. He's seemingly having trouble with shielding as some cruiser fire is coming in, and he has his own destroyers out over here. Both these destroyers been alive a little while, but I think he's going to fold to all of the presence over here, as the Valiant classes do very well in these straight-up knife fight, kind of just stand and shoot at each other style of fights. It's when you get a lot of movement involved that the Valiant does a little bit worse, kind of like the Aeon. At least in my opinion, when you get a lot of kiting and active micro, you need more of a compositional setup instead of having a setup with just kind of Valiants. The Bulwark shield boats helping out the Navy of Joe a lot. And the hover spam now coming in for Medea. Going to be attacking Commander H-15. I don't know how efficient this is. It feels like it's very inefficient, but as long as Commander H-15 doesn't move his frigates and doesn't micro, this just means these frigates going to die very rapidly. Zooies have a lot of DPS once you have a bunch of them in one area. A bunch of T1 PD now coming up to try and just stop this advance, and that's a perfectly valid response. Here in the center, Medea continuing to fight it out. He's now getting sieged by cruisers. In the north, GBK going to be forced out of the water and starting to look a little bit bleak for Team 1. Those snipes were a very nice, bright flash of happiness and kindness for Team 1, and now they're surrounded by cruel, hostile environments filled with angry boat noises. And the engineers start their pilgrimage back to the south again, seemingly going for the reclaim once more as they form lines, some of them experiencing the Trail of Tears treatment as they have themselves get destroyed by the Yinzines passing by. But the important part is there is no important part. These engineers just need to get some reclaim. Seems Commander H-15 is wanting more mass. Surprised we don't see any kind of experimental or, you know, spicy play going on. There's still way too many strat bombers for my liking. 11. Let's go ahead and check in on what these are getting. It has shield, nano repair, and teleporter. It's going to have teleporter, probably shield, and nano repair. He's going to get multiple of these gun teleport comms online, and that's going to be a scary prospect, no doubt. Gonna have to check back in on that, see how effective it is. Definitely a unique strategy. As the strat bombers take flight, just to move a little bit. Don't know what is with all of these micro pings, or micro orders, where you give them a move order 3 feet away. You don't really need to do that. You just need to give them a move order like that if you're trying to group them up for a strat snipe attempt, but I don't think he should be going for an attempt anytime soon. Unless he can somehow get around to the north and come all the way down after they win an air fight. He's not really gonna get much done with those. Maybe he could come through and just punch through these shields if he gets enough. Scout white if possible. You do have scouts flying around in circles, so don't know why you aren't attempting that yourself. I know there's some cruisers in the area, but they don't really do very well at shooting down T3 scouts. I guess they do, because they just did it twice, but they also flew into ASF. I'm going to give it to the ASF on that one, even though that's totally not true. It seems as though Medea trying to get back into the Navy, but right now getting back into the Navy is a fruitless effort for Team 1. They're kind of just stuck on land. They are land lovers. A lot of engineers over here. T3 engineers. I guess he's just going to assist one and try and get out of Neptune. you get out enough Neptunes, it could work. GBK sitting on a respectable eco. Speaking of eco, Joe sitting on the highest with 508. Never going to run around at 425. Commander H15 at 300-ish. And then everybody else getting close or... GBK close to 200 and everybody else closer to 150. So... these players have very strong ecos. Everybody's in the range where if they wanted an experimental, they could pause everything and get it. Some players wouldn't even necessarily need to pause. And we have a teleport coming in, or a double teleport coming in. Where is it coming from? The double teleport coming into the main base of Joe. And oh my word, maybe this is what I should have meant whenever I said diplomacy. These two comms, they are going to die relatively quickly to the PD, but what damage can they manage? They do have overcharge. I don't know if they can automatically overcharge. I guess I can select this one and find out. No, I can't, because I can't give it orders. Medea has been defeated by Joe. It was a broadsword snipe. As the strategic launch has been detected, the SMD was killed off by the roaming band of teleport SACUs, and that's going to be brutal. Medea also giving up the ghost here in the middle, dying to probably a mix of Neptunes and broadswords. But in the end, Medea goes down. He was kind of the shunned navalman, the shunned sailor, as a bunch of revenants now come in from Commander H15 to try and kill off the support commanders. For a second, I thought that was a snipe attempt over onto Joe, and then I realized that they were gray strat bombers. And these strat bombers now a threat. Needs to move them out of the way of the nuke, as the nuke is going to land and take out the base. This is an epic turn of events. Team 1 with the more underhanded plays, not willing to fight a straight up fight with Team 2, but instead using these sneaky underhanded tactics to gain tactical advantages that are so quick, but so brutal. And now we're down to a 3v2. Joe still sitting on a huge economy. Another strategic launch has been detected. This one may be heading down to the south. No, it's heading right here. Going to try and take out, I guess, 3 mass extractors, or it might only get 2, which would be an unfortunate turn of events. Does he have 2 nuke launchers, or did he just manage to load 1 nuke twice? He managed to load 1 nuke twice from the looks of it. This nuke's going to land. It's going to deal some economic damage over to Joe. And we have all of the strat bombers now coming out as a huge air fight takes place. But the air fight isn't what you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is the mass of strat bombers coming in. What is their target? They're just coming in right after the nuclear explosion, probably trying to find either of the comms. And they're about to fly over one of the comms right here. He can see Joe. Is he targeted onto Joe? I think he is, because the strat bombers don't have an order. And the diplomacy... let it fly. Let the diplomacy fly in. As the strat bombers drop all of their bombs, that T2 shield ain't gonna matter. Is the ambassador train gonna get a second pass? That's a lot of ambassadors to kill and not nearly enough as ASF to kill them. Strat bombers come in. He's gonna have to have the most perfect of dodges, but he just simply does not. As the ambassadors kill off the commander, Joe's commander, that means that the air fight's going to be trivial for him to win from here on out. There's ASFs coming in. There's going to be a strat bomb falling onto the base of Commander H15, and he's about to lose all of his ASF. He has a ton of strat bombers in the air. What is he going to decide to do with them? He just sent a scout over the base of GBK. Is that the choice? Is that where he's sending them? They're all cloaked, so no way. They're stealth, so there's no way that Team 1 knows about this. Okay, Control Shift T, back to Observer. Control V and zoom in. Turn off the HUD, because we're about to see a beautiful, beautiful thing happen. As about 20 revenants fly across your screen. This is peak sniping technology. Unfortunately, it seems to be a little bit too little and a little bit too late. as Team 2 has basically all but capitulated in this match. Some other units fly over to absorb some of the initial SAM fire, and that's going to distract it just long enough for the massive bombs to fly out. There's a lot of shield coverage there, but not... Oh, maybe enough. He had shield on the comm as well. These strat bombers need a second pass. Are there going to be enough ASF here in time? Does not seem to be the case. We're going to have the same thing happen where a UEF comm just needs perfect dodges, but you can't dodge revenants. And with that, we have the death of our red UEF player, GBK. Is Commander H15 up to the task of fighting this 2v1? He does still have naval control. There's no other units in the water. He could very quickly go for a T2 or T3 upgrade and just try and destroy the bases, but now there's more teleport comms available. It's just going to take one, maybe two to kill off the SMD, and that's going to be that. Cover his strat. Where is his strat? He has one or two strat bombers over here to the south, but I don't think that's going to do much. He's trying to save his engineers. I don't know if that'll help him very much. The strat bombers are going to die momentarily. At least I would think they would, but apparently the ASF out from Commander H15 are not super interested in just, you know, killing the enemy and valuable units. And those engineers go down to a strat bomber from H15. So interesting turn of play. Here in the middle, there is gunships fighting frigates. The frigates do eventually kill gunships, as they do have anti-air, but kind of a futile effort over here from all of the frigates. The frigates will fire all of their ammunition, and still, at the end of the day, it won't matter. Oh no, not the engineers! Strategic launch detected as the engineer comes in and I believe is probably going to overcharge the... yeah, it's probably just going to throw some overcharges into the SMD. Is it gonna be able to block the nuke though? Is he gonna kill it in time? He does indeed kill it in time, and Commander H15, after a valiant attempt to stay in this game, he's gonna be dead. He's already at the point where I don't think he can walk away from the comm explosion. GG, nice strats. GG all around from these players. It's a hard-fought loss, but Team 2 just was not up to snuff. We're not able to avoid the snipers of Team 1. And the explosive payload is about to reach its final destination in the base of Commander H15. A very rude guest just makes itself feel at home no matter what you do. And now, unfortunately, I feel like Commander H15 is going to end up losing because he's going to have to fight a support commander that regenerates 10 times more health, has a shield. Yeah, this support commander just walk over, or we could just see the line of strats come across the map and drop bombs on the commander. There's a bomb, taking him down to half HP. One more pass, probably from off screen. And I have to say thank you all for watching. Thank you to my patrons. If you are interested in supporting the channel, consider joining my Patreon or joining the channel membership program. You all are beautiful. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!